Welcome in. It's week 8. I can't believe it. We're into some seriously deep trouble now. More injuries keeps packing on, getting heavier and heavier. And luckily, there's only 2 buys this week with the Chiefs and the Chargers both out. You're not going to have any of the somewhat decent players like Austin Eckler, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and what has actually been surprisingly in Juju Smith-Schuster being somewhat viable is been something impressive. But as always, Mike Berlin is here with me. How's it going, Mike?
Good. Just week 7's already done, which is it's flying by, and that's halfway through the fantasy regular season for most leagues. I would say. Let's say playoffs start week 15, so kind of crazy. Still don't really know much like who's good in the NFL besides the Chiefs and Bills, and who's bad, and it's an interesting season for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely just getting rough, and I mean, do we believe in the Giants? Do we believe in? There's so many teams that are just playing way above their weight class. They keep punching up there and getting good hits, and I'm surprised each and every week that we continue to have everything going on. I mean, for example, the big trade this week, CMC, that was just mind blowing to everybody. That was quite the big trade, and I think that makes San Francisco a pretty good contender. But
yeah, I think something I did want to bring up on this show, and it's really hard to predict, but the trade deadline never used to be a thing in the NFL, not like it is in baseball and basketball, but it's becoming a thing. And look at the offseason and all the wide receiver switching teams and just player switching teams. I think the trade deadline is going to become a real thing in the NFL. I think it's November 1st.
Yep, it's the first.
Next week. So got to pay attention to that. Who's rumored? Like Claypool, for example, is rumored, and I know DJ Moore, they said they want to keep him, but just players like that, because that can really change kind of the fantasy outcome. I mean, I had Deontay Foreman and CMC, and I just gained an extra running back without losing one. So, yeah, pay attention to those.
Steve, every time the Giants have a quality win, the team they beat looks terrible and is less quality. Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, it's really just, I think, them getting that new head coach and Brian DeBall coming in and just finding ways to win. I mean, granted, you're usually asleep by the third quarter, but they come into the fourth and come in hot and somehow pull out that win. So, But speaking of the Giants, we're looking at waiver wire this week, and we're going to start off with quarterback as always. And mine's not surprisingly going to be Daniel Jones. I mean, they get the Seahawks this week, who have been putting up pretty good numbers and have allowed, I think it's 2 quarterbacks to be in the top 12 against them. The defense isn't great for them, but at the same point, the fact that Daniel Jones is rushing so much is he is not. It's fine. Yes, I understand that's your point, but he is rushing. Okay, he rushes at least 6 times a game, which is awesome because every time he's doing it, almost every time, he's going for at least 10 yards, and it's massive boost to any quarterback that is rushing that much and getting that much production. I mean, this year he's only had, he's had a 16-point game, 3 13-point games, a 12-point game, and then a 21 and a 28. And in both those 2 games, he went over 100 yards rushing. So, and that's without, I mean, really any weapons. Outside of Barkley, he's been by himself. And so that's something that you definitely want to look at. And that's kind of my pick for this week because of the soft matchup and the fact that he rushes so much. But Mike, you have somebody you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, my first pick is Daniel Jones as well. I think he's like QB 10 on the year as well. So you can't really ignore that. And if he's there, pick him up for sure. And another guy, just in case Daniel Jones isn't there, is Garoppolo. He does have a tough matchup against the Rams, but I think that's a little skewed on paper because the Rams have had they had like a 4-point quarterback performance with Cooper Rush, going against Cooper Rush, and then 2 points against the Panthers, and I guess it was PJ Walker that week, 2 weeks ago. So a little, that Rams matchup looks a little tougher on paper, but I like Garoppolo. I mean, he's QB 13 since taking over as the starter in week 3, and he did score 15 points against the Rams. I think it was in week 4, and 6 point per passing touchdown. So now that he has CMC, that could just boost his value a little bit. Those little dump offs, and we know what CMC can do.
Yeah, and I think it's really going to be based on the fact that if the Rams can score, because anytime that Jimmy is forced to throw, he's definitely been a viable option for you. I mean, he has a lot of great weapons, and he knows how to use them very well. So
Yeah.
I like that as another option if Daniel Jones is available. Jimmy Garoppolo, also widely available, and somebody that I've been streaming. I mean, this past week and hopefully this week coming up, we'll see if I actually trust the Rams to put a point. Coming off a bye, I'm hoping that they will. But we'll move into running backs, and we kind of talked about with CMC, but that means that there is a wide open position for the Panthers and the running backs, and I'm looking at Deontay Foreman. I know that Chuba is the guy, but every time I've seen Deontay touch the ball, he has looked explosive, and I absolutely love it. Thomas Dotson dropping Elijah Mitchell to put Njoku in his spot, right? Absolutely. I mean, I'm just more the fact that we don't Mitchell's still 2+ weeks away from coming back. Njoku is probably back by then. You're probably more than likely able to pick Elijah up because I doubt anybody's going to want that handcuff. They might still also assume that it's Jeff Wilson. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. Lost Hall trade for Najee and Pickens, give Foreman and Sutton. I mean,
get Foreman and Sutton.
If you're giving up Foreman and Sutton for Najee and Pickens, I'm okay with that. I prefer not to have two Steelers.
Yeah.
But
I'm not a huge Najee fan, but I mean, you're going to take him over Foreman and Sutton and Pickens. Yeah. I like it.
Pickens has looked pretty good. I've liked his increase of targets with Pickett there, and I mean they've looked pretty solid. But so you're okay passing on those two as well?
Yeah. But yeah, if you could, I think it's an upgrade. Foreman, Najee and Pickens is an upgrade to Foreman and Sutton, in my opinion. So if you can get it, I mean, I don't know if it's going to change the outlook of your team too much, but I'm fine with making that trade for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're really wanting trade help, all you have to do is hit that go to the Discord, get to join the Patreon. $1 a month, we'll be able to help you really break down who you need to trade for, who you should be trading, what you need, kind of like your trade targets, and really help you work through all that. Pacheco worth holding? God, no. Sorry, my bad. That just came out. Dustin asked Pacheco worth holding through the bye. What are your thoughts, Mike?
I mean, it depends who you're dropping them for, but it's funny, like the hype over, Pacheco starting it, and everyone was freaking out on, what was that, Sunday morning, and it was like, well, what had Clyde been doing with the starting role? And it didn't really change for Pacheco. He got 8 carries, he didn't have any catches. There's just.
I mean, our guy Steve nailed it. He said 4.3 fantasy points, and I'm pretty sure that was exactly what it was. I mean, 43 yards. That's rough sledding for you, but not surprisingly, the guy who's been on the field the most is still. Hey, I want nice, perfect. See, Steve coming in clutch, $5 off of that.
Yeah.
But the guy who's still leading in snaps is actually McKinnon, and he's just not getting the touches that CH and Pacheco have been getting, and so. While he's not producing as much, he's still on the field more, so they seem to be trusting him more. But getting back into other running back options for you, if you're looking off the waiver wire, Deontay Foreman this past week put up 16.5 fantasy points against the Bucs. Pretty good number, but again, Chuba went down, so that'll be kind of interesting to see. Do you have anybody that you're wanting to look at, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just on the Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. Apparently, Hubbard was playing more snaps through the first 3 quarters, had more carries, and then Hubbard went down with what they say is not a serious injury, but that's why it's a little skewed towards, I think it was Foreman's like 15 carries to Hubbard's 8 carries. So keep that in mind, I guess. I did think Foreman looked good, but it's going to be a pretty 50-50 split, or, it's going to be hard unless it's bye weeks and it's a tough bye week or a lot of injuries. It's going to be hard to count on one of those guys. And the game script was just kind of perfect for Foreman as well, where they were actually beating the Buccaneers, which was kind of crazy. But I do think Hubbard deserves a roster spot along with Foreman. Latavius Murray, I still think, is the main guy in Denver, the guy you want in Denver, I should say, fantasy wise. If you want someone from there, just because I think looks like he's going to get the touchdowns. Mike Boone went on IR earlier today, and so that could be, mean more snaps for Latavius Murray, and particularly in the passing downs, we know he's going to get the goal line stuff. So if you need a desperation flex, he's there. And then Khalil Herbert and Rashad White, just kind of two guys I've been talking about with his high-end handcuffs. Khalil Herbert, maybe even more than that, depending on.
Well, even White. If you get any points for return yards, White's been
Yeah.
pretty useful as well there.
Yep.
But Steve just said he Hubbard should be fine. I mean, that's what they keep saying is Hubbard should be fine. He could have been back, but being cautious with him. I don't know. I mean, it's again. I think he's more of the passing guy, which is surprising to me because I actually really like Foreman. You saw what he could do as a Titan. Granted, that was a couple years ago, but I'm more on that train than anybody else. But we covered running backs. We'll move into wide receivers here. No surprise, Alec Pierce still available. Josh Reynolds still available. I think Reynolds was still hurt this week, and so that made me probably why he struggled. And clearly Amon-Ra getting rocked, and they said he could have played as well, but again, who really knows? The more surprising thing I think we want to talk about is actually Paris Campbell, especially with now the quarterback change that they have made for the Colts with I think it's Sam Ellinger. But I haven't seen him. I watched some of his college tape and he looks okay. My guess is that the short area targets like Pittman and Campbell are probably going to see an uptick because of that. I was hoping that Pierce would probably be the guy, but Campbell might actually be it because of the fact that he's going to want to get rid of it, and those are some bigger options for him. But
yeah, it's kind of everything with that offense right now is just like I don't know what to tell people because, like we said, they're going to Ellinger. They're going to him. He's a second-year guy. I think he's played like less than 20 snaps. He can run the ball. He averaged like 500 yards rushing per season in college, but that's not necessarily a good thing for pass catchers in fantasy because if he's a young quarterback, not a lot of experience.
Whoa.
What happened?
Jets are making a big trade. Oh, Jets trading for James Robinson. Oh wow. My gosh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, live right now. You're going to get an instant reaction. Wow.
Jeez.
I think that I mean, granted, it's just going to be a week, but I would immediately take Robinson over Carter at this point. And I'm sure a lot of people dropped him after seeing what Etienne did last week.
Yeah, that's big for Etienne. It's big for Robinson. Yeah, seriously, Etienne to the moon.
100%, Steve. Wow, that's incredible.
Geez. It'll be interesting to see how they use. I think Carter is basically going to retain the same role, I would say, as he's had since when Breece Hall was healthy, and maybe a little more snaps. But yeah, that's amazing. Etienne is the one that's who I'm most excited about for this whole thing is Etienne.
Yep, that means he is not going to be leaving my starting lineup unless he goes on bye. So
yeah, this is just like I said at the top of the show. Like I think the trade deadline is going to be different, as it's going to be new and people are actually going to be making trades, and it's really going to affect the fantasy landscape as we already see with trading James Robinson. So yeah, that's
pretty impressive. Okay, which means that now the backup to own would be Snoop Connor or JaMychal Hasty, you think?
Maybe Snoop Connor, I hope. I mean, younger guy.
Rough.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Are they going to – because Etienne's a small guy. I don't know. Can he handle a workload?
I mean, he got most of it last week.
Yeah. I'm just worried about he's not the long-term. He's not the biggest guy. And, he's electric with the ball in his hands. And sometimes it's like, when you take those 10 to 12 touch guys and then give them 20, 25, it's almost like they become less effective. And I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see, but I mean, I'm excited about Etienne for sure. I've been just trying to trade for him for a while, but it didn't work out.
So Robinson saw 12, Hasty saw 4, Etienne had 57 of the snaps yesterday. Okay. So I guess that means Hasty moves right into it, and that means that more than likely Connor
could be a special teams thing with Hasty. Maybe Connor couldn't play special teams. Hasty was better. You always hear about that every now and then. Where like the third string running back actually is inactive and the fourth string is active because the fourth stringer can do some special teams work. So there's that to think about. Yeah, it'll be it's going to be interesting. It's exciting.
All right, but we'll get off of that. That was some big news that I like the second it came across. I was like, wow, that's pretty
I don't
impressive.
even remember what we were talking about.
Wide receivers is where we were going.
Yes.
We just had wrapped up. We talked about Campbell a little bit, but I think what is the thing that makes me the most mad right now is the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. is currently more rostered than Wan'Dale Robinson.
That's ridiculous.
I don't understand what you guys are thinking. I mean, I understand he is a talent. He's coming off an ACL injury. The excitement of him signing somewhere, completely understand that. But until he signs with a team or at least has shown get interest from somebody, there is no reason to have him on your roster. I mean, he's clogging up a spot. Maybe deep leagues, I can understand it.
Yeah.
You're in a regular 12-team redraft. Do not have him on your roster. Rather have Wan'Dale Robinson, who is clearly the number one guy for Daniel Jones and the Giants. I mean, continues to see the targets. I mean, this past week, 6 for 8 for 50 yards without a touchdown, 11 fantasy points. This is the second game, and he already is earning 8 targets a game. That's a pretty big jump. And like I said earlier, they get the Seahawks this week and then go on bye. So if you're looking for an option for you, especially this week, Wan'Dale Robinson's the man. Godwin or Amon-Ra half PPR if Amon-Ra plays.
I like Amon-Ra, I think. If he plays, obviously. Godwin hasn't looked, I mean, just the Buccaneers in general haven't looked too great. And I think a big reason is because it's like Godwin's not really back to his normal self.
The Lions play the Dolphins and the Bucs play on Thursday against the Ravens. So that would be the only. I mean, I think Godwin is still going to see. My thing is Godwin's going to see so many targets, no matter what. So you're going to have double digits from him either way. But if Amon-Ra is healthy, I mean that he normally gets a pretty big game. I could just potentially see Miami trying to control the clock and keep it away from the Lions because they're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkinson is hurt. I don't know what the extent of his injury is, and so I mean that's something to think about with St. Brown, and obviously DJ Shark went on IR, and Reynolds didn't look completely healthy, so it's something to think about where it could be funneled a little more towards St. Brown. Yeah, it's just I'd like to see Godwin back to his and the Buccaneers in general back to their normal selves, but he did have 13 targets last week, so. Hard to pass up on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that when you're looking at volume, that's the whole reason I have Godwin. I know he's going to see, probably 10 targets a game, and that's hard to pass up moving forward, even if they do suck. I mean, if he can catch 6 of them for 10 yards apiece, you're already double digits there. So definitely more of a big play game for Amon-Ra if you are looking for that, but it really depends on how you play. I've been rolling out Godwin as my third wide receiver for sure. Yeah, I have Brady and Fournette playing on this. Yeah, I would probably not be playing Brady, but I get it. It's hard.
Yeah, it makes me a little more afraid of Godwin just because if the Bucs do badly, you got 3 of your main guys have just, they've done badly, and it's really hard to win. I've seen a lot of teams, lose that way. And it's Thursday night, yeah. Are they at home, Buccaneers?
Let me see here. I have it up. Yeah, they're at home, but they give their Ravens are 1.5 point favorites with them being at the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, you would say the Bucs are going to snap out of it, right? Brady's going to become Brady again. They're still throwing 50 times a game, like I don't know. I might lean St. Brown this week, but it's really kind of go with your gut, and no one's going to say you made the wrong decision, even if Godwin does bad or St. Brown does badly. It's really there's no wrong decision there.
Yeah. So Skylar's asking Gino or Brady.
Oh man,
Gino gets the Giants. I mean,
I can't believe we're even asking this question. I guess you got to go Gino this week. I mean,
that and the fact that minus last week, all of the games have been under. I mean. That Saints and Cardinals game got out of control somehow. I'm not quite sure how those points kept being racked up, but I think I'm okay rolling out. The only downfall for Gino is the fact that Walker is running like a madman.
And Metcalf maybe doesn't play.
Yeah,
So,
but Godwin came in and stepped in just great. Or Goodwin, sorry.
Goodwin,
Wow.
yeah.
But Olympic athlete, the same kind of. He's smaller, clearly, because
Mhm,
you can't be built like a bus like DK is. But he's
mhm.
quick. I mean, that might be another good play if DK is out, is just bringing Marquise Goodwin. But that brings me back around. Do you have some wide receiver options outside of my guys?
Yeah, I like Wandale the most for sure. I'm shocked he's still under the 15% and 15% in ESPN leagues. I assume that will change.
You
Zay
would hope.
Jones, yeah, you would hope. You would definitely hope. Zay Jones is an okay, like, I need a bye week guy in a PPR league. You know, you need someone for one start. He's not going to give you 20 points, but he's been averaging almost 11 PPR points a game. He's 24th. He has the 24th most targets for wide receivers in the NFL, and he missed a game. He has a tough week this week, but also in future weeks, you know, they play the Raiders, Chiefs, Lions after this week. So those are all really good, favorable matchups. They're all in the bottom half of wide receivers, you know, points given up. So, yeah, the wide receiver besides Wandale, it's a little not so great this week in the waiver wire. So those are probably my top two, especially with the Colts quarterback change, not knowing.
Yeah, that I'm very interested in Campbell, but again, I'm more curious about how this whole quarterback situation goes.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's hard. And then Treylon Burks, I'll say it again, long-term stash, especially if you have an IR spot. He should be in your IR because he could come back and no one's really doing anything for the Titans, pass catching wise. So
yeah, Thomas Dotson is asking a question. Here we go. PPR flex: Gabriel Davis, Alan Lazard if healthy, Wan'Dale Robinson, Foreman, or Montgomery. Wow.
Davis,
Let me see.
PPR.
Who did the Bills? Bills play the Packers. So that answers those two. So those two are against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me very scared for Lazard. That's not ideal.
Yeah, probably not Lazard.
Panthers play the Falcons. That might be okay. But again, you're looking at that he gets the a decent share of the workload there. And then the Bears play the Cowboys.
Yeah. So
it's between Davis and Robinson for me right now.
Yeah, I would add Montgomery depending on what he does
tonight
because they're talking about the hot hand.
That makes me very nervous.
Yeah, they're talking about the hot hand, and Montgomery can't catch the ball. So yeah, I like Gabriel Davis, especially if you need a big week. If you're down by a lot of points going into Sunday because of a Thursday night game, or Gabe Davis can put up, but PPR is nice. I mean, Wandale is nice. I'd probably go Gabe Davis. And then, pending what we see tonight, if Montgomery's still the guy for the Bears, I'd probably go Montgomery than Wandale. But
I mean, it's PPR, so Wandale's going to give you your safest floor here. I mean, if you want the upside, I get playing Davis because he's going to get 3 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown,
or 3 for 25 yards and no touchdown.
Yeah, so I mean. But at the same point, you're going to have Robinson, who's probably going to get 6 receptions for 60 yards, or some that you're more guaranteed the points. But if you're wanting the bigger week, you're definitely going to go Davis there.
It's also your team build. Like if you have some consistent guys at receiver,
play Davis because it's more upside.
yeah. But if you have you can afford a 2-point week from Gabe Davis. With the potential of getting, that 20-point week, then that's why I like Gabe Davis. But if you're kind of relying on him to be your guy, it's risky for sure. And I might go Wandale, but I like Montgomery as well, pending tonight.
Yeah. So we'll finish up with wide receivers and we'll move it in tight ends because that's my favorite. If it's not your favorite, however, make sure shop.importantonders.com. We do have an Abolish the Tight End t-shirt. That would be a great place to get it. Use promo nerd. It will save you some money, and you'll have an awesome t-shirt that shows how much you hate the tight end and want your team to get rid of it. Buy your whole league shirts, and that way they all will get the message that you don't want the tight end because they are extremely frustrating. So the normal ones we've been talking about week in and week out, K. Dotton, Daniel Bellinger, which actually got a big issue has a fracture this week, so I'm guessing you're probably going to be looking for somebody else. It was an orbital fracture. Makes me very nervous for him to play. But again, Juwan Johnson is very interesting. If no Landry, no Thomas, no Troutman, he becomes a very interesting play for you. And then the guy who stepped onto the scene 2 weeks ago, and Greg Dulcich, man, 7.8% rostered, and he keeps finding it.
Yeah.
Got Kelsey on a bye. Would he become? Yes. The answer to that is yes. They are using him this past week. He went 6 for 9 for 51 yards, 11.1 fantasy points. I'm definitely okay with that.
Especially if the quarterback situation, if it's being Rippin again, he seems like he likes the tight end. So, yeah.
Well, even then, I mean, the week before it was Wilson, and he targeted him a handful, 2 for 3, 44 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. If that continues to be a trend, I think he would definitely be worth it. But the guy who's probably more consistently being played is actually my other guy, in Evan Ingram. Like, he only has 3 weeks under 5-yard targets. The other 4 weeks he was over 5, and in those of those 4, he had 3 that were over 10 fantasy points. I mean, one of them was 9, so it could have been all 5, but it's sometimes, and that's also hasn't scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
So if he actually gets a touchdown, he is set for you. You're going to have a great option, and I really like both of those for you this week, especially. But do you have anybody that you want to bring up?
I definitely like Evan Ingram and Dulcich more than the 2 I'm going to mention. So this is just if those guys are taken, which you can probably get at least one of those guys. I also like Juwan Johnson, like you said, if Landry, Thomas, Troutman are out. But yeah, Irv Smith, I've mentioned him a couple of times. The biggest thing with him is a little bit of consistency. He's getting 5 targets a game since week 2, which is good for a tight end. The offense is pretty good. You can catch a touchdown. Thielen, they said he had like an injury in week 4. He's kind of been playing through it. But if you look at his numbers, like since week 4, it's only been 2 weeks because they had a bye last week, but they haven't been very great, so I don't know if the injury's bothering him or not. And they play the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are 31st against tight ends, so they're really bad against tight ends. They have been for a couple years now. So that's definitely a play if you're desperate. And then, I mean, this is super deep leagues, but with Njoku going down, maybe Harrison Bryant steps in as the tight end 1, and we know Jacoby Brissett likes to throw to tight ends, and that's part of the reason why Njoku's been doing so well this year. So maybe Bryant at least puts up 70% of that production. Hopefully, who knows?
I kind of touched on it on Twitter, but I'm more interested in watching how Farrell Brown is. He's dealing with a concussion right now, but he was the other option on the field after Njoku went out. And if he's the one who actually ends up playing, I'd much prefer him over Harrison Bryant this week. So, but I really like that pick just because if assuming the protocol stays the same and he's out this week, I'm fine rolling out Bryant as a deeper league option.
But yeah, I definitely like Dulcich and Ingram. I like Ingram the most, I think, for this week. You just can't get away with all the targets he's been getting. I mean, you got to play that game sometimes 10, 6, 7 the last 3 weeks. So hard to get away from that.
Yeah. But so we'll get off a tight end and we'll move into defenses because, that's the most important thing here.
Yeah.
I find it the most fun trying to find defenses that are going to have a good week.
I enjoy it.
So
I recommended the Titans last week, so that was good. We hit on that. We said Titans against the Colts. So
and again, because of coming off a bye, I was all on board with that.
Yep.
And I'm going to say it again. I'm suggesting the Titans again. They get to play against the Texans. They put up 20 points against the Colts. Again, I think this is a good chance for them to put up double digits. I like the Texans. I wish they were playing better, but they just can't seem to put.
Yeah.
More importantly, Davis Mills cannot throw a touchdown, and it's extremely frustrating to watch because he is so good. I mean, I think he's good. Everything I see from him on tape looks like a great caliber quarterback, but he cannot find the end zone, and it's extremely frustrating. But so Titans are a good option this week, and you kind of touched on it with Irv Smith, but the Vikings, they're another good option. You brought up the Cardinals. Granted, they look better this week, but Vikings are coming off of a bye, had a week to prepare, saw what Hopkins was able to do, saw what Murray kind of did. And, I mean, week 1 versus Seahawks, 7 points. Week 2, Texans. Week 3, 49ers. I mean, they're putting up 7, 8, 17. Like, their points are – it's incredible, the work they've been doing. So, outside of that, do you have somebody that you're interested in? A couple defensive might help people?
Yeah, I like the Titans as well. I think it's my number one this week waiver wire ad, but Bengals is a possibility just because they go against the Browns, and the Browns have given up double-digit points to the defenses they have faced the last 2 weeks. And then the Commanders, and I know it sounds crazy, but they play the Colts, and Sam Ellinger is going to be the starter. So that's always something that, my antenna kind of goes up. It's like, ooh, backup quarterback or a rookie or a second-year guy who hasn't played. It's definitely a possibility, but they could also just run the ball 40 times with Jonathan Taylor. So something to think about. I like the Titans the most, but if it's deep league or, those guys are taken, why not the Commanders against them?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good option. But more question. Skylar Schmeester here. Full PPR, Gabe Davis, Sutton, Aaron Jones, Ken Walker, Tony Pollard. For flex here. I'm pulling out Sutton because of the fact that we're not sure who the quarterback's going to be, and
taking out
also
Pollard.
London. Yeah. Pollard is. Let's see. I guess I need to pull up these matchups to see here. Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm just not going to start him over Aaron Jones or Walker.
Cowboys are playing the Bears, so I'm not. Yeah, I agree. Well, so Walker is playing the Giants. Little tougher matchup, but that hasn't mattered.
Yeah, I think I like Walker.
Yeah, I think Walker's probably your best bet.
Aaron Jones against the Bills.
Yeah, no.
Gabe Davis doing you got to go Ken Walker here. I mean, it's either Ken Walker or Aaron Jones for me, but your team's kind of stacked if you're choosing between all these guys to start at flex. Like, dang.
Well, and then Dak or Tua.
Dak or Tua.
So Tua plays Lions, and
I think Tua.
Cowboys play the Bears.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Tua. I like Dak, but I think Tua has a little bit more upside to put up a bigger week with just the receivers.
Hey, evening, Polo. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, I agree with Tua for sure. Pick up Greg Dulcich or Kate Otten. I'm probably going to go Dulcich here. I like Otten, but man, they've been struggling. Way until I start to figure out. I mean, he's still saying decent target share, but I'd much rather go with the more upside in the rookie and roll that out.
I agree. 2-5 with that team that we just Gabe Davis, Ken Walker. That's rough.
It's probably just rough picks. I mean, you're picking the wrong person each week. You've lost Davis for a little bit. Jones has been inconsistent. You just picked up Walker 3 weeks ago. I mean, Pollard's been fairly inconsistent. This is another good week for Pollard. I expect him to probably go over 100 yards collectively again with rushing and receiving. But I mean, it's definitely tough. I see where you are having issues there. So, your safe play is definitely going to be Walker with the upside going to Gabe Davis again because he likes to catch those big bombs. So
I like Aaron Jones. It's just tough against the Bills. I mean, but it's one of those two for me. Aaron Jones, Ken Walker. Think about it during the week and kind of go with your gut. But I think I would go Ken Walker.
Yeah, and I mean, the way he's been playing, it's hard to sit the dude. He's playing out of his mind. This is a good matchup for him.
Yep.
And so I'd definitely be okay rolling that. But that's it for the wire this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Definitely excited for week 8. The fact that I don't have to watch the Chargers and hopefully they can get healthy. Keep hoping over here. This week was rough, so we're trying to recover, and hopefully not being able to watch them this week will help them recover as well. But Mike, do you have anything you want to plug? I know you have an article tomorrow that is definitely probably the most valuable piece of information come out.
The trade article comes out every Tuesday morning. Kind of added a new piece to it where we start looking at potential playoff matchups and trading for guys based on who they're playing, weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, because I think that's very underrated in fantasy. And a lot of times it's just matchups, and it's not who's better. It's, who are they playing and what teams are they playing during those weeks. So, check that out. And also in the Discord, always answering questions. Enjoy that. So can give you some better
as little as $1 a month, guys. That's all it costs. You join the Patreon, join our Discord. We answer trade questions. You literally get specialized information. We help cater to you. If you're a degenerate and want to bet, we also have great betting lines, but that's $3. So the extra $2 a month could easily pay for itself if you join our Discord and get the sporting bets option, because man, those guys are still nailing it. They're over 65%, which is pretty good for a professional bettor. So one against the spread and one against money line. So those are pretty good options for you if you're looking for a way to make some cash and pay for our Discord, because it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm going to go watch this horrible game in the rain of Patriots versus Bears. Sorry, I'm not sorry, Steve, but man, this is rough. In the rain. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, as always, to keep up the nonsense.